Hi everyone, William here. I have today a slight upgrade on my phone. That's why I didn't post yesterday. And so we'll see if it makes a difference. Probably not. As I said, it's fairly slight. I should have said at once, this is the Grand Duke Dmitri 1917 diary entry. Diary series. You can see I'm a bit distracted. I have a French lesson to give in just a little while, so I've got all of that running through my head. And today we have a diary entry actually that is completely in English. So any of you who are interested in language and linguistics, I think will find it interesting with these English language entries as to how Dimitri's French was. Well, that would be interesting too, but how his English was, something, a language he'd been speaking since early childhood, but clearly he wasn't a native speaker. Okay, what is our recap? Well, we had an amusing one last time. We had him upsetting the Russian minister to Tehran by doing a sand dance, a vaudeville kind of performance that would have been seen as being completely beneath a member of the imperial family, but Dmitri loved that sort of thing, so good for him. And then talking about his relationship with Lucia, that she's a difficult person, and that they're having make-out sessions of a kind. We kiss often, he says. We'll be finding out more about that relationship for years to come. Always a complicated one. And our cast today is pretty much all people, well, I think, yes, exclusively diplomats. Not in different roles, but all of them attached to legations, Russian and English. And it's interesting that the Russian and the English members of the various diplomatic agencies in Iran, in Persia at that time, were sort of hobnobbing with each other. I guess that makes sense. Anyway, here we go. We're at now the 21st of September. And bear in mind, this is all English. If it sounds a little funny, it's untranslated. I was touched by getting most charming letter from the Kadlubovsky, and with it a pretty Persian book done out of old stuff, blank. The Marlings didn't forget to wish me a happy name's day. In general, I was deeply touched by the kind attentions of the people which, after all, don't know me so well. Old Baturin wrote a most nice letter with all kind of nice things, also for my name's day. The same day the Marlings had a dinner. Etter, Yevrenov, McLean, Astel, we played bridge. I don't know why, but the last 2 or 3 weeks, Etter seems awfully unnatural, and so does Madame Yevrenov. I am sure that there is something more there than they would like people to think. But she is such a fool, ! And so terribly sloppy about him that everybody thinks and is sure that she is madly in love with him. So I think I said in the last video that this one is a bit of an eye roller. I mean, very, very much just tittle-tattle, but there's some subtext to it. In fact, I've been reading a lot of Evelyn Waugh lately, and the one that I'm reading now, called Black Mischief, has a really deliciously ironic and funny portrayal of the British and French legations in the made-up country of Azania in East Africa. And I think it's pretty dead on. So if you want to learn more about what life would have been like in a posting like this, or for somebody who just by chance ended up being immersed in it, then that's a good book to read. And there's another part of it that describes life back home in England in upper class aristocratic families, and this time period, the post-war time period that Dmitri spent in London and in France, and again, very instructive, not just fun books to read, but very instructive. One of the scenes that I just read, there's a chow and a bull terrier running in and out of the room in this aristocratic household. The husband and wife are having dinner in bed, and their chow and bull terrier come running in and out. And the funny thing was that Dmitri had both a chow and a bull terrier in London at that same time. Not at the same time. He bought the chow, that was his first dog, and the chow kept running away and getting lost, and finally he ended up giving it to friends who lived in the country. And then the next dog, I think, was a bull terrier. So, those obviously were the trendy dogs, and he was obviously following the trends. But I'll tell you one thing, if you think he lives in a hedonistic lifestyle in London, when we get to that part of the diaries, there's really no comparison to the way these aristocratic characters were living in the law books, which were based on, the milieu that he himself knew. And I mean, you talk about a hedonistic lifestyle with no sort of sense that Dmitri writes about of leading a stupid existence and not doing what he should be doing. Anyway, so those books, in my opinion, the ones that are set in the post-war period and that are very ironic and parodies, they're well worth reading if you want to put this stuff in a broader context. Anyway, sorry about going off on that. So the most interesting of the people that are mentioned this time are definitely the Yevrenovs. Now, he's talking about her, possibly he's implying that he thinks that that Etter, who was the bachelor Russian minister to Tehran, and who was the one that got furious with Dmitri over the sand dance, that Etter was having an affair with Madame Yevrenova, which is certainly possible. If memory serves, Dmitri had his eye on Madame Yevrenova. There's one instance where he leaves an assignation with a woman and ends up hurting his leg or throwing his hip out or something, trying to climb over a wall. I don't remember if it was her or not, but I kind of think it was. Her husband, on the other hand, was actually the chief of intelligence, the Russian chief of intelligence in Persia. But he seems to have been the last to know when his wife was running around behind his back, although Sir Charles certainly knew about Dmitri and Lucia and apparently didn't care. So, that's more kind of Evelyn Waugh stuff. Crispin, stop. My little dog there. Okay. Yeah, so there's a bit of a people who live in glass houses element, isn't there, to this that Dmitri's saying about Yevrenova and Etter, since he's carrying on a little bit with Lucia. Anyway, you may find it amusing to look at some of his word usage and spelling. So when he mentions a Persian book done out of old stuff meaning the fabric, I don't know, or stuff in the more modern American usage, like, oh, I got some cool stuff. Probably not, but I don't know. Misspellings, the same day the Marlings Hade, Hade, a dinner. He spells does, D-O-S-E. He spells sure two different ways. The first time shore, S-H-O-R-E, and the second time sure, C-H-U-R-E. So, it's interesting. It's not sort of what you would consider sort of upper class Oxford kind of English, but it was the English he spoke, apparently. I'm not talking about the spellings, but the word choices and things like that. A quick word about name days. So I think in both Roman Catholic and certainly in Orthodox and possibly even in Anglican churches, you have the name of a saint, and that saint's feast day is your name day. So mine is coming right up. Mine is Saint Demetrius of Thessaloniki, which will be 3 days from now, 26. And the only thing I ever do is go to the liturgy on that day. You know, the priest will say happy name day to all of the Dmitris, to all of the Catherines, whoever's name day it is. But purely judging by by having read Russian novels, it seems like in Russia, you would have an open house, and you would treat your friends and your family members. They would come and they would congratulate you at some point during the day, and you would have little gifts or little things that you gave to them rather than vice versa. So, you know, that's interesting. It is rather touching, isn't it, that they are celebrating his name day, and that they even are giving him gifts and a letter, because, you know, how would they know? Even if the Anglican Church, well, they'd know from the Russian diplomats. So I don't need to ask that question. I was going to say, even if the Anglican Church does celebrate name days, Saint Demetrius of Rostov, Saint Dmitri of Rostov would not have been a saint in the Anglican Church. So yeah, that must have come from the Russians. So anyway, I like the way he puts this. She is terribly sloppy about him. She is such a fool! Exclamation point! And so terribly sloppy about him. I haven't heard that word in Evelyn Waugh, sloppy. Although maybe it's there and I just didn't make a note of it. Anyway, I'm rambling. This is a short one. What do we have next time? Well, we have a day at the races to give a tip of the hat to the Marx Brothers. They had races. They had, you know, it wasn't Royal Ascot, but they had big, you know, for society such as it was in Persia, they had steeplechases and horse races, and so that's what Dmitri is going to be experiencing in the next diary entry, and I hope you'll come back for that, whether you're interested in horse races or not, and I'll see you then. Bye.